Happy holidays, everybody, and Tony here with my review of Humperdinck's Hänsel und Gretel with conductor Friedrich Pretorius, which I saw at the Deutsche Oper Berlin. This marks the third time I caught Andreas Homoke's production of Humperdinck's Hänsel und Gretel at the Deutsche Oper Berlin because I wanted to see, hear, and witness Arianna Manganello and Nina Solodovnikova perform the roles of Hänsel and Gretel, respectively. Starting off with Arianna Manganello, I continue to admire everything she has to offer as a fine mezzo-soprano, or more of a glorified soprano, with really good coordinated chest tones, a darling stage presence, and heaps upon heaps of charisma that made her shine as Hänsel, and arguably a lot of the antravesti roles, such as Cherubino or Dimitri, and even some borderline soprano roles. She definitely has a lot of amazing assets to her voice that she owned so magnificently that I have to give her her props. Sure, I can never forget about my favorite soprano Hensels, including Wanda Axel Clemens, Elisabeth Grümmer, or even Irmgard Seefried, Christa Maria Ziese, plus Annie Schlemm during her younger lyric soprano years, or even more agile voices such as Editha Fleischer, who also sang this role aside from Urbain from Les Huguenots, or even Constance from Entführung aus dem Serail, or even Pamina from Zauberflöte. But when it comes to Arianna Manganello, her vocal assets remain at their all-time prime. She was able to give such a convincing portrayal of Hänsel, and she was able to shine like the brightest of stars. Nina Solodovnikova was also a bright, shining star as Gretel, all thanks to her always reliable top notes, as well as her signature, creamy, gorgeous lyric coloratura slash somewhat full lyric soprano voice. Granted, her voice does sound a little bit more on the mature side for Gretel. It's more of a voice that I'd like to hear sing the Goose Girl or the Gänsemagd from Königskinder, or Dornröschen, also by Humperdinck from the opera Dornröschen, or basically Pamina, Violetta, Lucia, Fiordiligi, and all of these heroines that are between their late teens to early 20s, let alone early 30s. But when it comes to her Gretel, she's still able to deliver such amazing vocal feats. And sure, I do prefer a lot of the lighter, sweeter voices, such as Helen Donath, or even a controversial opinion, Edita Gruberova. And if I want someone with a lot more technical precision, I'd go with Lucia Pop. And I dare not forget that just by listening to Nina Solodovnikova, she is kind of an amalgamation of Elisabeth Schwarzkopf, especially when it comes to that somewhat fuller tone, and Annalisa Rothenberger, because she also hits those coloratura passages and high notes. And that is what Nina Solodovnikova managed to accomplish as Gretel. A lot of artistic discipline, a lot of feminine charm and lovability, and heaps upon heaps of charisma as a singing actress. Therefore, both Arianna Manganello and Nina Solodovnikova did amazingly in their respective roles of Hänsel and Gretel, and they were able to make the show their own, complete with a whole lot of excitement, a whole lot of joy, and most important of all, artistic integrity. Joel Allison was a handsomely virile, sturdy, and strong-toned Peter, the broom maker, all thanks to his virile stage presence and his voice kind of reminding me of Walter Berry, who is one of my personal favorites in that role. Just listening to that roundness in his voice makes me thoroughly convinced that he has followed successfully in Walter Berry's footsteps in terms of amazing musicianship and a whole lot of virility that made him shine so amazingly as a singing actor and someone I continue to adore and salute with all of my being. Gloria Jeon Choi actually surprised me so much as Gertrude, the mother. It's all thanks to her gleaming and penetrating spinto soprano voice that can hit the high notes as well as show fabulous coordination from head voice and chest voice and just have a ball with this particular mother figure. Sure, she may not be as overly blasting like Gwyneth Jones is, or even more chesty, let alone a lot more coordinated like Hildegard Behrens is, or if I want darker mezzo-y voices, I would have gladly stuck with Grace Hoffman, Charlotte Berthold, Maria von Ilosvai, and even Gisela Schröter, who had those naturally deeper voices and actual mezzo-soprano voices, dramatic mezzo-soprano voices that show maturity, but also strength and a whole lot of charisma. Nevertheless, I still have to applaud Gloria Jeon Choi for such a fabulous job as Gertrude the mother, to the point where I believe that she can conquer a lot more roles suitable to her spinto soprano voice, and I salute her for all of her musical endeavors. Burkhard Ulrich stole the show as the gingerbread witch. And sure, I do prefer a mezzo contralto or a dramatic mezzo in the role, a la Christa Ludwig being my top favorite of all time, and even when it comes to the slightly more contralto-y voices of Res Fischer, Elsa Schürhoff, just to name a few of my favorite gingerbread witches. But what Burkhard Ulrich had to accomplish was nothing short of amazing, and it's thanks to his sturdy character tenor voice that made him own and earn so amazingly as the gingerbread witch. So bravo to him in terms of making the gingerbread witch his own and doing so with a whole lot of confidence and a whole lot of brilliance from beginning to end. Sofia Savenko does have a little bit of a tremolo as both the Sandman and the Dew Fairy, but she still has that silvery quality that makes her quite lovely to listen to as well as lovely to witness. Although I do prefer a thread-like voice that still has that silvery sweetness to it, such as the ones I'd love in Norma Burroughs as the Sandman, Elfriede Hobart also as the Dew Fairy, or my personal favorites being Arlene Auger as the Sandman and Lucia Pop as the Dew Fairy. Or if I want to have slightly more fun, I'd probably go with Barbara Bonney as the Sandman and Christiana Oelze or Christina Schäfer as the Dew Fairy. I do prefer a lot of those lighter, silvery voices in those respective roles, but Sofia Zavenko was absolutely charming, absolutely sparkling, and thoroughly charismatic as both the Sandman and the Dew Fairy. So overall, the singing was absolutely phenomenal all across the board, especially if you have two stars such as Arianna Manganello and Nina Solodovnikova selling it so well as Hänsel and Gretel. Their vocal work was so amazing, their vocal chemistry was just as palpable, and they were able to own it so amazingly as these titular kid heroes. I also have to salute Joel Allison, Gloria Jeon Choi, Burkhard Ulrich, and Sofia Zavenko for doing fabulous jobs as Peter, Gertrude the gingerbread witch, and both the Sandman and the Dew Fairy. They all did magnificently, and they were also able to bolster the performance with everything they got. The conducting done by Friedrich Pretorius is a bit on the big side, but he's still able to tease in a great deal of nuances in the 14 Angels pantomime, which tears were nearly rolling down my eyes every time I hear that. That is just how much he was able to convince me as a conductor. Granted, the evening prayer, Abends will ich schlafen gehen, could have been a little bit more on the pensive, sweet side, but at least what he was able to accomplish with the 14 Angels pantomime was nothing short of amazing and nothing short of breathtaking, to the point where I was just at the edge of my seat, emotionally and physically. Not to mention, I do feel like he could have used a lot more nuances, especially in the overture, but it's still a lot of excitement that he had to offer. And of course, the children's chorus of the Deutsche Oper Berlin as well as the orchestra are absolutely amazing. So overall, Arianna Manganello and Nina Solodovnikova made a lot of fabulous, fabulous vocal magic as Hänsel and Gretel respectively. Arianna Manganello's creamy tone and absolutely luscious musicianship, coupled with Nina Solodovnikova and her sufficiently silvery voice, managed to make this opera performance all the more worthwhile listening to. And I could definitely tell that both of them had a lot of fun embodying their roles with a whole lot of tenderness, joy, and brilliance. And for those of you who caught Humperdinck's Hänsel und Gretel at the Deutsche Oper Berlin, what'd you think of it? Do you feel that Arianna Manganello and Nina Solodovnikova did superbly as Hänsel and Gretel respectively? Was there another singer who stole their thunder? Or did you feel like the singing was not really to your liking? Please let me know in the comments below. Well, that's it for my review of Humperdinck's Hänsel und Gretel at the Deutsche Oper Berlin, starring Arianna Manganello and Nina Solodovnikova. Tune in next time for another review. So until then, happy holidays, everybody!